Oh, hello there. I'm host Eric, host Talking with Famous People. And if you're familiar with me, if you're familiar with the channel, you know that we try to do serious work around here and we try to ask the important questions. It's not always easy to be the one who challenges the dominant paradigm, who says, hey, but maybe we live in a heliocentric universe. It's not always easy to be that guy. But I will persist in my course. And tonight I ask the critically important question: buttermilk, is it for pancakes only? As I wrote the title, I realized no, there's one other thing that it's for: biscuits, buttermilk biscuits. Well, what else is buttermilk for? Does buttermilk exist only so they can make pancakes and biscuits out of it? I think so. The only person I've ever seen purchase or consume buttermilk is my great grandmother when she was alive. She lived till she was 99. And while she was still alive, she drank a tall glass of buttermilk every day. But, since those hearty days of yore when people would chug glasses of buttermilk at a moment's notice, buttermilk would seem to have been relegated to the status of pancake or biscuit ingredient. Am I the only one appalled by this injustice?
I'm with you.
Thanks, Rachel. Okay. Maybe injustice is too small of a term. Maybe Holocaust, apocalypse. Well, Alexander Brooks, as of this moment, you, sir, are among the famous people because you've spoken to me. In other words, I've talked with you. I don't have a psychiatrist. My girlfriend does, though.
Facts.
I do need medicines, you're right. I need to smoke bong rips and take my prescription drugs. But my prescription drugs are not something that a psychiatrist prescribed to me. Oh, wait, that's right. You're just a hateful spite monkey. My bad. My bad, hate monkey. I accidentally almost pretended to take you seriously there for a minute. Which came first, the cow or the milk? The milk. Cows came about because they evolved from milk spurting anemones. They evolved udder first. They evolved over the course of billions of years from milk squirting amoebas into full-blown dairy cattle. Full-blown. Stage 5 full-blown dairy cattle. What stage are you in? Alexander Brooks is in stage 5 full-blown stupid. It's a disorder that afflicts hate monkeys that come around here. See, they come in and, well, what brains they had upon arrival fly from their head like bewinged bats in the night. And they spew pointless hate all over the place. Chicken tenders are only edible if you use buttermilk. Okay, well, look. I'm going to ask you this, Octavia Silva. Is the same thing you put on the chicken tenders, is that the same thing that you make into biscuits? Because if so, then you're just doubling up, okay? I've already acknowledged biscuits. It's pancakes and biscuits. Now, if the thing you put buttermilk, if you put buttermilk directly on the chicken tenders, that's different. But if you're saying you're mixing buttermilk into a biscuit mix and then putting that on the chicken tenders, well, that's just bebiscuited chicken tenders.
Yes.
You use it as the breading, right? But see, what I'm thinking, Octavia Silver, is maybe, like, if you go to Popeyes, maybe the breading on the chicken tenders is just the same as the biscuit mix. Have you thought about that, maybe? Just add buttermilk instant flavor. All good fried chicken and chicken tenders use buttermilk. I agree with you with the fried chicken, chicken tenders. My grandma used to make the best fried chicken. I inject weed into my arm. I mean, the thing is, I used to be a serious drug addict, but when I quit doing serious drugs, I started injecting marijuana because I still wanted that sensation that I was doing something really bad while not actually doing anything bad. So that's when I started injecting. That's why I got all these tattoos all on my arm here. Cover up my track marks. My hilarious joke from Hawaii is still ringing in my brain. When Delilah was going to go get her henna tattoo at the luau, I came up behind her and said, "You should get her to put it right here to cover up your track marks." Jokes that a middle-aged father can make with his 22-year-old daughter. You automatically gain funny points because you're a dad saying something that dads aren't supposed to say or something like that.
Yeah, totally not supposed to say.
The sensation of injecting yourself with weed is hard to describe. It's really hard to describe because it's like all the little pieces of leaf and bud and stuff. It really is hard to push out of the syringe. That's a terrible. I mean, injecting anything is a terrible idea. Anyone who's going to do any kind of intoxicant ranging from marijuana to PCP should apply one rule first. No needles. Don't, if you're going, whatever drugs you get into or alcohol or whatever, make that rule for yourself right off the bat. No needles. And the other rule is no PCP. No needles and no PCP was my rule as a teenager. Was our friend group's rule about that. I think we all adhered to it. Actually, I don't think any of us ended up doing needles and PCP.
That's cool.
It's a pretty easy rule to follow, right? You can still do all kinds of crazy shit while avoiding needles and PCP.
Yeah.
Why would you inject spores into your veins? I see. I wouldn't. I don't trust myself to inject anything into myself.
Like, okay, you know how like there's some women who have to take the injection to start their hormones. What's that called again?
Oh, you mean like octuplet moms and stuff? Once you get that injection and make them super fertile, and then they end up having like quintuplets or whatever.
Well, yeah, yes.
Okay, yeah, I know about that.
Like I don't even think I could do that. You have to inject yourself. Like,
you have to do it yourself?
You do. You mainly, it's supposed to be like, if I were with you, you would be the one who's injecting me. But still,
I actually think I could do that.
You could?
Yeah, I could inject you. I wouldn't try myself to inject myself.
I'm not into needles. I do not. I used to have a really big phobia of needles growing up.
The thing is, the reason why I don't trust myself to inject myself is because if I'm imagining myself injecting myself, I'm factoring in the fact that I'm going to be getting very drugged out in a second, right? So it's like that's the part that seems to me I wouldn't trust myself to inject myself with something like heroin because first of all I've never done it, but it's like makes you kind of pass out, right, or something like that. So I wouldn't feel confident that I'd take it out of my arm, so to speak. No, don't inject anything into your eyeballs.
Ow.
Except the sight of beauty.
Oh my God. I am so sorry, Octavia Silva. That is terrible. That is so terrible. I mean,
but you know,
that shouldn't even be legal.
It's not just about the nurse, Rachel. The fact is, some people, their veins are very difficult to find, and some people, their veins are really easy to find. My veins, they always go, good.
Oh, that's nice.
Like you've got wonderfully available veins.
They have to smack a little with mine, but still, come on. 15 times. I'm sorry, but that's not kosher.
Yeah, anybody who's taking or giving blood out of me goes, ooh, like great, fantastic.
yeah.
These veins are just waiting to be burst. Flood out blood. I mean, I'm super veiny everywhere. It's
man,
you can get to my veins anywhere.
I'm so sorry, Octavia Silva. That is really not a pleasant situation to be in at all. I really I have personal feelings about that sort of thing.
So yeah, the thing is, pretty much anything that you might want to inject, you can snort or smoke. So why bother injecting it?
Facts. Also, it's how do we lose lighters? Ew, God, even doing that fucking movement. Thank you.
Here, let's smoke a bowl instead.
I can only watch. So I've watched the movies Requiem for a Dream and Trainspotting, and I tried to give them, both second tries. I'm like, I liked these movies when I first saw them. Let me see if I could watch them again, and they were so graphic.
Anthrax. You get a couple points for that. Well said. It was vain of them to try to find Octavia Silva's vein, and they tried in vain to get into the vein, but vainly did they struggle until the weather vane finally pointed the other direction. At which point they gave up. So Rachel and I were both, I think, very sleepy and about to fall asleep watching this cartoon earlier.
Yeah.
And then I ate a burrito, and then Rachel ate a burrito, and then I kind of got a bit of then we watched a little bit more of this cartoon we're watching, and then we went inside and had sexual intercourse, which normally puts me right to sleep. But in this instance, we wanted to stay up till at least 9, and so we got back up, and now I feel like I have a second wind, so to speak. I don't really feel that tired, but it probably just means I need to smoke a few bowls, because I know I am tired.
Yeah, I'm tired. I know I'm gonna smoke a little bit and definitely head into bed. I took my medicine, so it's gonna kick in.
Oh, cool. Of course, you took the other medicine today too, so.
Oh yeah. I'm only gonna go when I really, really, really
If you really want to make sure you sleep well at night, you might want to take 2 halves instead of 1 half.
Yeah, you're right. I'll take it at 9.
You can let the uppers and downers battle it out.
Yeah.
That's how when people die, there was a period of time, anyway, back in the day when the thing that people were dying from was speedballs, which don't actually have any speed in them, which is just cocaine and heroin. But more recently, the thing that people have died of is fentanyl. A lot of people have died of fentanyl. Mac Miller, Lil Pump as well, or no?
Is he dead?
Maybe it's just Lil Peep who died.
Peep.
There's a couple other famous people of this era who've died of. I don't know.
Was he suicide? I don't remember.
I don't know. We just read an article about it the other day, or I did anyway, and it listed at least 4 people's names that I recognize that have died from fentanyl. John Belushi died from a speedball, and then of course back in the late '60s or early '70s, people were dying of just straight heroin overdoses, which continued through a lot of the '70s. Walter Becker's girlfriend died of a heroin overdose, and that basically, Walter Becker had life up until moment, whatever, and then life thereafter, because everything changed for him as soon as his girlfriend died of that heroin overdose. And basically, he hid himself away on a farm in Hawaii and grew something, pineapples maybe. I'm not sure. The former musician, formerly known as the former Prince.
Oh shit! Him
Hereto
too?
thereafter known as
knew
the
it.
once and former Prince.
Even before they did the autopsy on him, I'm like, it's gotta be drugs.
What did Michael Jackson die of? Was that fentanyl too?
Yeah. Does anyone know?
He also died of a hardcore sedative / painkiller or something.
That wasn't even that long ago. It was nuts, right? It was like 11, 12 years ago. I guess to me that's long.
Yeah.
Oh, anesthesia. That's right. Remember he was going under the knife. You know that happened to
Anesthetic propofol and the anxiolytic lorazepam. I think it was an isthmus that killed him. Michael Jackson was killed by a rogue isthmus. What is an isthmus anyway? I've got to know.
It's good to see you again, Emails about Anthrax. It's been a little bit.
I get how important it is to sleep, and that some people really do have a great deal of difficulty sleeping.
Let herself. I see.
But I find it hard to believe that Michael Jackson wouldn't be able to get to sleep with, like, say, 2 milligrams of Klonopin or something. It's like, why do you have to take all that shit to go to sleep? Surely he's not that insomniac where he can resist a fairly substantial dosage of Klonopin. Well, we're going to find out. What's the difference between an isthmus and a peninsula then? This says an isthmus is a narrow strip of land with sea on either side forming a link between two larger areas of land. It's a land bridge. It's a land bridge.
Oh.
What's a peninsula? Let's find out. A peninsula is an isthmus that has water on 3 sides instead of 2. Okay. So, like
Panama is an isthmus, right?
Well, it's like when my penis is touching the entry hole of your vagina, it's an isthmus. When it pulls out and I'm away from the entry hole of the vagina, it's a peninsula.
It's a peninsula. That's a good way to remember.
That is a good way to remember. When a penis is touching the entry part of the vagina, it's an isthmus. When it removes itself out of there, it returns to being a peninsula. That's where the word penis comes from. Peninsula. Michigan, people, Michigan. The New York corollary for LA's 213 is CCS.
What's CCS?
City, county, state.
Yeah. Did you know that?
Yeah, I'm from New York
too?
That was from what you said earlier today. You were talking to me about it, remember?
Yeah.
About
you're quick.
State, county, and city of New York. You got a video scheduled for this August? I know. It's a huge drop. It's going to drop like boom. I believe it's called 27 Seconds of Ants on a Tree.
Uh-huh. With pee-pee in there too.
And I'm not lying in that title. Okay, that is a completely accurate title. It is, in fact, 27 Seconds of Ants on a Tree. I've saved it for a long time now. I arbitrarily decided, 47. I arbitrarily decided to schedule it like 2 years after I filmed it. When I just said, well, I don't know why I filmed this, but I'll just upload it and schedule it to publish, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years from now or something. It'll be an Easter egg. Well, then they changed the way that they organize YouTube videos. So it used to be that I'd publish one for later, schedule for way later, and it would just drop into the massive history, and it would surprise me when it came up. But then YouTube changed the way they organize it, so anything is scheduled at the top. So I'm well aware of it now. If it were like 6 months ago and you asked me that question, I'd be like, no, I have no idea, because it would have been buried in the list. How did I stumble upon typology? I mean, I first stumbled upon MBTI back when I was in my early 30s and found out that I was ENTP. Basically by reading type descriptions, taking some tests and stuff. But then I didn't see anything about cognitive functions though at that time. So I didn't get there's not a lot of depth to MBTI, right? It's like you can master all there is to understand about MBTI very quickly because it doesn't explain anything. It just describes things. So it was another 10 years plus before I revisited personality types after I started this channel and discovered there's this thing called cognitive functions that I'd never heard of before. And so I made this video where I was literally like going, okay, so I'm an ENTP and I just learned that there's these things cognitive functions. It means that I'm dominant. My first one is extroverted intuition. It was like, that's my first typology video. It's me sharing the learning experience of this with people rather than trying to teach anything about it. Like, so apparently it's like, man, that makes totally good sense to me. I'm like, wow, it's like that kind of video. And then I realized, wait, hold on here. I'm smelling wrongness. Smells like not Cameron Diaz, but
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow's candle. Why can I not remember that woman's name?
Let's just go see show. I don't know.
There's 2 wasted joke opportunities. 2 perfect joke opportunities wasted because I cannot remember Gwyneth Paltrow's name. Why does she have a vagina-scented candle?
I know. It's like, and like the drop, you know, when they drop the product and they have like a big celebration soiree for it.
Smells so good.
There was a place where you could take pictures, and in front of it, it was just like vulvas. So you would like stand in the middle of the vulva. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I'm not saying that vaginas are a bad smell or anything. I'm just saying, do you really want to smell vagina when you're not having sexual intercourse? And isn't it kind of the case that, generally speaking, when you're having sexual intercourse and both people are clean, that you don't really smell much of anything at all?
Yeah.
So
right.
Gwyneth Paltrow smells unique. Oh.
Oh, that's why. I bet you these candles are like $60 too.
I mean, my asshole also smells unique, but people don't want to buy a candle of it,
right?
I'm assuming.
I know. They should.
It really smells unique.
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of a mix between sandalwood and kind of spring breeze.
Ooh. Everyone loves those scents.
He posted a picture of candle with caption "for sale, mildly used."
I remember, like ESFPs can dupe INFJs. I went to Goop, Gwyneth Paltrow's site, and I saw this ring. It was a wraparound ring, and it was like leaves. It was very simple. And I really liked it, and it was like independent designer. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to treat myself. This is something that I can like afford, even though it was like probably like $80. I still was like, okay, this is on the more affordable side of the things that she recommends, I'm gonna buy it. Fucking broke in a week. I was like, I am not taking advice from Gwyneth Paltrow ever again.
Well, let me tell you something, Email Anthrax. I like your selling bong water idea. What I like is the idea of this. First, making some holy water. Obviously, it's a trade secret. I can't tell you how to make the holy water. Because if anybody can make holy water, then it wouldn't be that special.
Mm.
Fill the bong with holy water. Smoke through it for a full week, doing nothing but transubstantiating the bong rips. And then sell a vial of holy water, bong water, to people for $1,000 per vial. Was that about magnetized bracelets? You want to talk about magic jewelry? I got magic jewelry for you coming out every hole. I've got your plasma earrings. I got your magnet bracelets. I got your thermometer eyeshadow. Thermometer eyeshadow is
that's like really
a
cool.
good product. Ideally, it would be an eyeshadow that changes color so precisely with the temperature.
Yes.
That you can check your color wheel. Oh, it's 68 degrees.
That's great. You know, they probably will do something like that.
My eyelids are 68 degrees.
Would you call it like mood
rings?
Yeah, like
I'm not sure how mood rings work really. I think it might be the heat, but
it is the heat.
It is the heat.
I don't know, but mine always changed. Like, remember mine? I would wear it and it would be pretty accurate. But it goes with the temperature of your skin. It does.
If you think about it, there is in fact some things in life that you have to check against a color wheel to see what it means. So, for example, pH paper. If you put in pH paper, you have to check it against a key that tells you what input and find the shade that it is to find out what pH it is.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me of pools.
Isn't that a strange sort of like way to check or something? Like if you're gonna
such a bitch.
Yeah, it's so irreducible because you can't use words or some other symbols to say when blue stops being royal blue and becomes sky blue, then it's like that won't work. You have to have the visual thing.
Yeah, you have to. Pools are really hard to maintain. If you have a pool and you're maintaining it yourself, like you don't have a pool person, you're paying. I mean, it's probably worth it for someone like me to get a pool person. But, like when I lived in New York and growing up until I was about 17, 18, when I went to college, we had a pool. And my parents were always complaining about the upkeep of the pH level and the filter and the having to scoop, stuff out of it, like leaves and stuff. Just high maintenance.
Okay, so Angie, cognitive functions can't be masculine or feminine. There are ways of paying attention. So, for example, to say that a cognitive function can be feminized or masculinized is like saying that putting information into a form is more masculine than asking a question of Google. It's a category error, right? Functions can't be masculine or feminine. I mean, I think my smoking weed makes you seem a lot more feminine. Like, whenever I pull a bowl, I think, Angie seems really girly. But that may just be the weed talking. It has weird effects like that on me.
It could always be the weed talking.
Yeah, it could always just be the weed talking, right? Nerfed would how I describe it. You know the definitions of the terms in the system that even contains these terms, Eric? I mean, when AONG says feminizes some of the functions, I just recognize that term is so wildly inappropriate for describing a cognitive function that even if you're trying to co-opt a term to use its metaphorical power, you're going to do more harm than good with those terms because they're so far afield of what's correct, a correct understanding. Like in the sense that if we acknowledge that cognitive functions engage information flow in some way, right? Putting information or getting information, it's like, am I getting information more? Am I using TI in a masculine way if I go, hey, what's the meow meow meow? And am I using TI in a feminine way? I go, hi, hey, could you tell me the meow meow meow? Is that what you mean? It's about how passive or active the function is. I mean, knowledge functions occur passively, which is to say you receive the information unbidden, right? That's the difference between receiving something and getting it. Deliberation functions are willful deliberative processes. So those are necessarily largely internalized for most people. And interface functions, well, they engage dynamic systems, so they are both receptive and active. Action functions are action functions. So when you're saying passive and active, I'm not sure what you mean.
Why did YouTube hate you?
Eric wouldn't mod cloud. No, I didn't mod. That's not cloud. I think Outer Self's just saying that's a cloud-like thing to say, maybe.
Oh,
Although
yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. The thing is, my basic premise about cognitive functions, AONG, one good place for me to start, say, this is where I start. And I kind of start in a few, it's kind of a, it's not so linear as that, but I start with what examples do we have of something equivalent that we can apply here to better represent our understanding of cognitive functions? The answer is the internet. In the internet, we have a system where agents can operate within a metaphysical ecosystem that has none of the boundaries of a physical ecosystem. So if you guys had to actually come to my house and hang out with me every time I live streamed, then I would never have anywhere close to the numbers that I have, even though my numbers aren't great. It would be hard to get 20-some people to show up at my house and come back to my house, get back in their car, drive to my house again, even if they lived relatively close, multiple times a day, to just sit here and, because the unique thing about this ecosystem is that it avoids the constraints of a physical ecosystem. It operates under the rules of conditionality, not of causality. So the thing is, the internet is one way of modeling an ecosystem. And in this ecosystem's model, there's putting information, as in putting information into a form. There's getting information, as in Googling. There's receiving information, as in seeing ads on a page that you didn't ask for. And there's interfacing, as in you've made the internet say this with your words. So that you've interfaced with the dynamic system of me and prompted me to say the stuff that I otherwise wouldn't have said. So now, and of course, you're also hearing what I'm saying in response. And so we're interfacing to see like a couple things. Like I started off kind of ready to piao piao because I was thinking you might be a spy monkey, but now I'm thinking you're not, but it's like could be made to change my mind back again. So now I'm trying to find like, okay, maybe we have common ground here we can bridge and we can have a real conversation. Usually my first thing I'm trying to figure out on an interface level is this person interfacing legit or not? So like, are they a real human being talking to me as though I'm also a real human being? Or are they, am I a real human being and they're talking to me as though I'm not, as though they're not, like pretending to be somebody they're not, or pretending to be a random person when really they already despise me and are trying to shit on me or whatever. Those are interface realities. So it's like you can kind of probably make some determinations or comments about any given person in the chats here function stack based on how quick they are to jump out and say, this new person must be a troll. Knowers tend to like to resolve that matter right away. I think SI knowers like to resolve it right away even more than NI knowers, who are accustomed to having to wait for some more data to come in. I think that deliberators will generally withhold judgment about the deliberative matters that's not theirs, and probably be quick with deliberations about the deliberative matters that are theirs. So like if you're a feeler, you're probably going to be pretty quick on knowing when it comes to clear-cut enough FI matters. But if you're a TI person, you probably will withhold judgment on those, whereas you'd be pretty quick on things that have a TI consideration, vice versa, yada yada. Why do you think you are that important to have that many haters or people that feel so strongly about you? Okay, so it's like, yeah, a lot of people are just maybe one person, right? So the question that Up and Plays 48 asks, which is, why do you think you're that important to have that many haters or people that feel so strongly about you, is a question that could be misinterpreted or interpreted correctly or whatever. It could be interpreted in many ways. That's a very thick question. So the first part of it says, why do you think that you are that important? Usually when somebody says that, they're saying, what makes you think you're so important? Almost every single time, right? So this is like an interface thing. I'm having to make an interface determination about what updim plates 48 means really, rather than a deliberative parsing of what he's saying. And I know, having interacted with him enough already, that he probably doesn't mean it like that. He's probably not saying, why do you think you're so important, Mr. Big Shot? What makes you think you're such a big shot? I don't think he's saying that at all. I actually think he's saying, why do you think you incite so much hate? And sort of presenting that being important is implicit to that. The answer is, I'm a strong advocate for my metric. And I'm a particularly strong advocate for my metric because I only advocate it conditionally within certain frames, which means it's hard to beat. And of course, coincidentally, the frame we're currently arguing in is one of those frames. So that's frustrating for people. I can both claim that I legitimately afford others the appropriate jurisdiction for their ways of judging, whereas they are not reciprocating. In other words, they're both claiming to be better at what they actually are better at, but they're also insisting on doing my job too. And they're fucking it up royally. That's very frustrating to people who have not encountered the right arguments ever before. Until you find somebody who says the right arguments, if you keep making a shitty argument and it keeps winning, you'll get increasingly married to it. That's only human nature. The longer you affirm a given position, well, the more sure you are of it, the more likely you're to build other shit on top of it. And then now, if you start to question this position down here, everything on top of it falls down. A and G, as far as Enneagram and cognitive functions go, my position on it is that Enneagram is a taxonomy of reflexive emotional directionalities or something that aren't addressed by cognitive functions, that they each have. They work together fine. They're non-exclusive. They don't contradict each other, and they don't run afoul of each other. Because Enneagram, as far as I'm concerned, isn't making any substantial claims beyond taxonomical ones. So it's like it doesn't claim. I mean, it may claim, but I don't make the claim that it's necessarily the case Enneagram because definitionally and observationally. I do make that claim with cognitive functions. But I like Enneagram. I think it did something pretty cool. It found an available niche of sort of understanding that both helps explain human behavior and stuff, is not inconsistent with cognitive functions at all, largely addresses areas that cognitive functions don't quite cover, and seems right. It's like, wow, that's, it's like, I can't think of anything else like that. I don't feel that way about Ocean. I don't feel that way about somebody else's wacky combo personality 512 subtypes garbage. It's like, I do about Enneagram though. I have respect for Enneagram. It doesn't make claim. Its body doesn't write. Its ego doesn't write checks its body can't cash.
Yeah, that's so true.
Are most people 6s, 8s, or 9s? I don't know. Rachel and me are 7s. Delilah is, I think, we said 7 to 1 or 7 to 9.
We're between 7 to 1 and 7 to 8.
Oh yeah, she might be an 8. Yeah, that's why she seems nice. It's the 2. It's not. Yeah, she's probably a 7 to 8. Probably maybe even a 2, 7, 8. She's quite helpful, surprisingly.
She might be 2. 2s and 7s can look alike, but I think that 7s are more selfish.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately 7 comes first because that's what we see with the. Why don't you live stream with me? I do want to live stream with you. I really like it, but not right now. Is always her answer, because man, now you're trying to get me to hook my cart to your agency horse, and I don't like that. I'm the action type. She's not really metacogniting this as much as I am, but that's my take on it.
It is. That's how I take it too.
The model is based on the process of the octave and the movement between qualities of form. Well, I mean, like when I'm talking about Enneagram, I have a very stripped down, I guess, pocket-sized version of it that I use that discards stuff that I don't think is substantiated, I guess. So, for example, I don't reference wings at all ever, and I also don't reference very often directionalities of growth and disintegration. I don't think that's, although, to be honest, it seems like a better way to understand people or more accurate way to say that they go through periods of growth and disintegration than the way that we often talk about it, which is to suggest that, you're well, how I tend to think about it anyway, which is I was insisting I was full grown, insisting I was full grown, insisting I was full grown, and then, okay, fine, I'll grow. So that's how it was for me. But that's how I tend to talk about it. But the reality is, within those larger frame slopes, it's like stock market-y, There's periods of disintegration and periods of integration. What do you mean by integration and disintegration? Well, integration would be a sense that your component tendencies are complementarily conjoining into a process of being. And disintegration would just be to say that the attentional processes, for example, or something else, are moving from a state of functioning in a complementary way with each other to more dysfunctionally engaging. So, for example, if I spend all my time watching anime, then I'm, you might say, overeating in certain areas. In that case, you'd say I'm not integrating because I'm overexpressing certain aspects of the self and underexpressing others. I am a weeb, except here's the deal. Personally, I find it insulting to be called a weeb because, given my fluid transracial identity, when I watch anime and talk about it and enjoy it, I am Japanese. So I prefer to be called an otaku. I think it's more accurate. Have I seen the show Nathan for You? No. I hate cringe comedy. It makes me cringe too much. I mean, sometimes it can be good, but by and large, it just makes me go, ah. Yeah. I'm totally an otaku. And proud. Otaku and proud. I should have a shirt that says that.
You should.
Otaku and proud.
If I find one, I'll get it
Or
for
how
you.
about Otaku AF? You're not an otaku, you weeb. Fuck off. I'm Japanese. That's why I have Chinese Kung Fu. Bitch. That's how tough I would go like that.
That is.
What? Bitch. Come at me, bro. And everyone goes, why is that guy doing that strange dance? And then they run away in fear that I might bust out some anime powers of some kind, Speaking of Los Fantásticos Televisivos shows de anime, may I highly recommend Durarara and Dorohedoro. Dorohedoro is super good, and so is Durarara. Those are on Netflix. Dorohedoro, they haven't actually explained the universe yet, but it appears as though hell has conquered heaven, and hell has heaven and hell, and earth in between is the whole. It's a really visually compelling and interesting television show. Did I not answer Franklin O'Connor? I'm sorry, Franklin O'Connor. Shame on me for my failure to answer you. What am I supposed to answer? I'm going to learn my lesson right now. I'm going to answer you. Not super knowledgeable about the MBTI. I've been interested in it for a while, but is it possible for a person to work on strengthening their left dominant functions? No. Followed up, is it impossible due to those functions growing stronger for them to be perceived as another type? it's not impossible for them to be perceived in the passive voice. People misperceive others all the time. It's impossible for me to not be able to eventually figure out someone's type if I were to, in theory, be afforded infinite time, right? Like, I mistyped my girlfriend. She hired me to type her. I typed her as ENFJ. She came out here, and we ended up living together out here, and it was a full month before I was willing to be fully committed. Once I say like, okay, when I type somebody, you're a meow, and I go later on, actually, I mistyped them. They're a meow. I want that to be the last of it. I don't want me to ever go back and forth again, because it's understandable to some extent that I'm going to mistype some people. It's just unavoidable. I don't have. Some people are out to trick me. Some people are sort of, despite with good intentions, giving me misleading information. Not really, it's like there's circumstances in which somebody's a very atypical affect for their type. It can be difficult to type them right away. Like, this is basically what happened with Rachel. She's an atypical affect for an INFJ because she seems, at first anyway, or at least in the conversation we had when I typed her, more extroverted than an INFJ would be normally. And she seemed in the typing session to have more FE and less TI than you'd expect to see in an INFJ. You'd more likely see it in an ENFJ. It was kind of borderline, like I'm not sure. But so in that case, I'll go with overall affect. But eventually, with enough time with her, I can definitively tell you someone's type based on the definitions that I provide that are, it's like I can be definitive about certain things to a certain level, and those things are usually definitive by a process of elimination to give me the thing I need, but not always. There are some things I could, if I don't get a hit on one of those definitive things that's pretty clear cut, then I'm having to go more with corollaries. And so in that case, sometimes it requires you to sort of put together a holistic case and say, well, preponderance of the evidence. Ideally, you like to treat typology like a criminal matter, guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, and or untyped. In other words, you're either typed beyond a reasonable doubt or you remain untyped because I'm not sure. However, in reality, we still have to treat it like a civil matter. A lot of times we have to afford somebody a typing or confer a typing on somebody based on a preponderance of the evidence. I do still, because I don't always get those definitively winning arguments as to why you're meow or meow based on the data I pull out of somebody. Yeah, well, I finished Dora Hedora. In fact, I'm rewatching it with Rachel because I thought it was so good. I wanted to make sure she had a chance to see it too.
I'm so glad.
I just gotta say, Johnson is one of my favorite characters in a long time. When their use of Johnson's shocking is so effective. It's so funny. The other night I went to bed after I watched the baseball game episode and where they really used Johnson's shocking to great effect. And I turned it off after that episode, and I was just laying in bed just laughing for like 10 minutes thinking about it. It's especially funny because the whole show's in Japanese. There's one word that the scientist has taught this giant bug guy is with shock reinforcements is shocking. And it's in English, And the bug, other than that, he just says like chitter, 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 chitter. But then at appropriate times, when you're not expecting it, like somebody said, "Hey, I baked a cake," and then Johnson will pop up in the background and go, "Shocking!" It's so funny. I guess you had to be there, okay? It's a visual joke, kind of, in part 2, so I really shouldn't even bother to try to describe it, but I really enjoyed it a lot. There's a lot of funny things in that show. For being it's a show where you have these nice characters that you like and are being super cool and everything, and then all of a sudden they're brutally slaughtering a room full of people, and you go, and afterwards go, I got blood all over me. Back to being pleasant and stuff. It's a wacky show. I'm looking forward to the second season.
Me too.
Oh, look, it's a hate monkey. Oh, how that makes me feel. Oh, there's a Dora shocking compilation. Oh, it just sort of, it makes me realize how important it is for me to help people understand metacognition, and that people are expressive of their frames, and to remember that we're all human. Oh, it's just a hate monkey of some kind, trying to pretend to be something else. It's probably the guy who's gonna say something about me living at home now, being a freeloader. This is that guy. I don't know who it is exactly, but it's I guess it's just somebody with just a lot of spite and very little imagination. I don't know. I know the show kept getting crazier and crazier every episode while remaining cohesive. And the thing is, it's almost impossible to stop watching it, because the way it ends, it's not like a cliffhanger. It'll end like right in the middle of a fight when she's about to stab somebody. You're like, okay, I can't stop now. I got to at least see the end of the stab, right? How does it make me feel? I don't think it does make me feel. How does it make you feel? Are you happy because it gives you ammunition to attack me with? Does it make you feel good? Or does it make you feel shame? Because once again, I won't rub it in. I do want to see the Doro shocking compilation. I'm trying to be nicer in general. But listen, Outer Self, if you haven't watched it, please do watch. And please do share your thoughts with me about Do Rah Rah Rah. Do Rah 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 is if you haven't seen Do Rah Rah Rah, Do Rah 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 is an incredibly well put together piece of art. It's like I think that probably it's one of the ones that I think that Rachel feels the most enthusiastic about. I also feel very enthusiastic about it. I think it's a particularly INFJ-ish kind of brilliant.
Her Dora, though, I have to say I am very impressed by. Like, I think I could watch it a second time too. It's just very smart.
No spoilers on the do rah rah rah. We're not quite done with it yet.
Yeah. I'm happy with Durara though.
I'm happy to talk about a vague generality about how good it is, but I don't want any deets on the do rah rah rah. Keep your do rah 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 in your pants, everybody. Well, what's cool, Octavio Silva, is apparently it's the first time anybody's ever recognized him in public. I'm still waiting for that to happen to me too. So, of course, please watch Bacano. Do Rah 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 X2? Let me look on Netflix. I don't think there's any X2 on it.
Two exclamation.
Oh, 2 exclamation points. Yeah, it's do Rah Rah with 2 exclamation points. That's probably why it says X2 because there's 2 exclamation points after it. So it's actually, to put it into text here, it's Hannibal is definitely an ENTP. There's no doubt about it in my mind whatsoever. That one is cut and dry. He's as INTP as a pie in his tea. Do rah rah rah. Like that. That's what it is. Not 2x, exclamation point, exclamation point. No, Hambone's an INTP. I don't know about Bogdan. Oh, okay. I don't know about Bogdan. Yeah. She's still a channel manager. She's not a mod anymore. She never was not. I never demodded her or anything to her. She thinged herself, but that's her thing. Oh, man. Oh, my pants are zipped down. My bad.
Yeah, I was trying to tell you that.
I don't want you to see my boxer shorts. I know none of you here have ever seen them before. And it might cause you to get eye cancer. Somewhere in there. I mean, either a man or a woman, somewhere in there. Bacano and Durarara take place in the same universe. Sold. We'll watch Bacano after Durarara. I'm sold then. If it's by the same person, even I'm sold. It's like Durarara is really quite brilliant. I don't want to watch English dub. I don't like English dub, Octavio Silva. I won't watch it then. I can't watch it. It offends my soul. It's just so wrong. It's like, it's not magic, it's Mahoda. Okay? Those aren't sorcerers, those are Mahotse. It's not us, it's Wade Wade. It's not thanks for the food, it's Atashimasu! It's not, ooh, give it to me. It's nerd. Dude, I mean, I'm impressed at my own conquering of these things. You know, Black Clover then in March. I'm caught up all the way with it. All, you know, it's coming out episode 167 in March. I watched every single one of them. And I was so happy when I discovered that Netflix has some good shows on it because I was at the bottom of the Crunchyroll barrel. But even there, though, You can find some random. I found something I watched the whole thing of in the random. I clicked random and it got me to this thing called like Interstellar Galactic Champions or something that was basically it's like StarCraft as an anime. So it's about uh, interstellar naval battles. It was quite good. I watched the whole thing. I was it wasn't like in my top tier, but it was very watchable. It kind of stole some shit from Star Wars, too. Just sort of like uh, fairly straight ahead, kind of Star Warsy world and narrative, but well done and entertaining.
That's sometimes all you need.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how I feel about like watching Miss Maisel. Like it's like it does the job. Like when I'm not with you and I'm trying to go to sleep, I'll put it on because I've already watched it before, and it's just like well written enough that I'm entertained.
I skipped a couple of the relationship and character development episodes in the space Navy show.
Yeah.
Like there are a couple episodes where I read the description and I kind of like look through it and okay, I see what's gonna happen here. He's gonna go talk to that chick whose dude died on that last thing, and they're gonna. What do you think of the most recent AOT episode? Like every single one of them, over before it starts, practically. It's like God, those things go by so fast. Just stunning, great. The whole everything. I have not a bad word to say about AOT. It's like one of those epic, forevermore flagship programs that will forever be. Like I compared it earlier when I was talking to Rachel about it, like Breaking Bad or Sopranos.
It's strange.
Yeah, I saw the sausage scene. You mean the most recent episode? Yeah, I saw it. When Rachel and I talked about it. What was your reaction, Octavia Silva, when you found out about that? When you saw it? I had a weird reaction. I'm curious as to what yours is.
Yeah, me too. Attack on Titan actually started on Netflix.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How did it go to Crunchyroll?
They stopped making it for like 2 years.
And Crunchyroll picked it up, or what?
Yep. Mm-hmm. The hiatus, they picked it up.
Oh, that's funny. Octavia Silva says, I saw that in the manga.
Oh.
But I'd forgotten that she says meat. And I got pissed off again. And they made that her last word. My response to it was, thank God it's not Hanji. Isn't that a weird response?
They look alike.
I feel relief. Because, yeah, that's the thing. It's like, for a second, I thought, is that Hanji?
I was a little upset because she was a little bit of comic relief, and like I'll always remember her as the girl who had to do laps because she like stole bread or something.
Yeah. Do I think Hanji's an ENTP? No. I think she's an ESTJ, probably.
Yeah, I do too.
But it's like if I had to be like on an army squad or something, I'd want her as the leader. I'd feel comfortable with her as my leader, more than any of the other characters in that show. I feel like she's the most prudent.
She's great.
She's the most practical.
She is.
And the other thing I love about Hanji, she's the only character in the history of all media to successfully pull off a hilarious torture scene. Only Hanji can make torture funny.
That's a pretty impressive thing to do.
Your favorites were? I just think that Hanji is especially cool because she's in her element. It's like she's got a job and a place in life that's perfect for her skill sets. It seems more like 4th slot FI than 7th. Well, can't make an omelet without torturing a few people.
Yeah. I'm gonna.
Good night, darling. I love you.
I love you.
I use my emotions to love you.
I use my emotions to love you too.
Do you know which organ I employ in the loving of you?
Your heart?
My heart.
That's
so where
special.
I keep my tenderest feelings, right here.
Thank you. I love you too. They're in my heart as well.
You smell good.
Thank you.
You always smell good.
Oh, so thank you.
Thanks,
Bye,
darling.
guys.
Except when I stink.
Except what?
Except when I stink.
Well,
I always smell good except when I stink.
same thing here. I'll see you guys in the chat.
All right, bye, Rachel.
Bye.
Have a pleasant time inside the house. No, I loved her with that organ earlier. That's less of an emotional love than a kind of a physical loving, a physicality of emotional concretization. Hey, Rachel, we're going to emotionally concretize right now. Are you down with that? Are you okay with that? I'm feeling kind of emotionally abstract right now. Yeah, so I need you to suck my penis. That's how I concretize my emotions. No. I don't just like blowjobs. That's how I concretize my emotions. It's much more philosophical than what you're saying there. Oh, it is spoiler time for AOT. It's got to be spoiler time for AOT. The short, bald one? When I think of short, bald one, I think of inconceivable. But I know that iocane powder comes from Australia, land of criminals. A criminal put the poison as far away from himself as he can, so I can clearly not take what me out in front of you. So I think when anybody says the short, bald one, like that guy. Or maybe my pinky toe. My pinky toe is not just shorter than my other toes. It's also has fewer hairs on it. So you could be talking about my pinky toe. Or you could be talking about I'm not a short, bald person. Rosie O'Donnell? I think she would be bald if she were male. She seems like somebody who would definitely be early balder. Early balder. Early balder seems like the name of a old-timey baseball player. Connie, the short bald one. Who's the short bald one? I can't think of who you're talking about. Look, I also like thinking. I think both Rachel and I are on the same page about this. We primarily bathe for the purpose of having sexual intercourse. There's not really any other reason to be clean. So it's not like I go to the personal hygiene examination department every day to have my cleanliness checked out on. The one that hangs out with Sasha and Jean, basically. I don't know. For some reason, I'm drawing a mental blank. Sup? Hey, girl. How you doing? You know you my world. Well, the great thing about a urinary tract infection is if it becomes a yeast infection, then you can both bake bread and give birth from the same thing. Or you won't bake it. You just let it rise. you get a yeast infection, ladies, that's just saving you a step or a trip to the store. Knead up some dough, stick it up in there in your body pocket, and let it rise. Yeah, I agree. Clean sex isn't yuck. I'm not saying clean sex is yuck. My camera quality looks better than it was before, or looks better than you could ever imagine. Because that's what I'm going for. That's why I bought this $40,000 camera. That's how much this camera costs. Do you think I got my money's worth? $40,000 for this webcam. I was like, is that really the cheapest one you have? And they said, yeah, it is. I just assumed they're telling the truth, so purchased it. Took out a substantial loan and purchased it. You know, it would be cool if they could. What they should do is also, before they do that, they should forget bread. Let's make biscuits. So I want her to be lactating so she can squirt some milk and into a churn. Then you halfway churn it to butter, so you get buttermilk, human buttermilk. And you use that in your biscuit mix. And then you rise your biscuit dough in your body pocket, and then you bake it inside of an oven. An oven built of human bones. So what's up with you, man? What's new on Eric's side of things? Well, I got some new lighters. They included this gray one right here. And as you can tell, after a long discussion, Race and I concluded that the best aesthetic for the channel was going to be a minimalist one with just sort of a green wall and just a white wall and a part of a door. I was just like, yes, that's the look we're going for. So I had a muralist come in and paint this rendering of a green screen here in a form of green that makes it so you can't actually use it as a green screen, to make it clear that it's not a green screen. It's my intended appearance of the room. Human buttermilk. That's the thing. If you read Health and Fitness magazine, they'll tell you about the health benefits of asparagus. They'll talk to you about the health benefits of a lot of different kind of vegetables. But what's the secret they're keeping for themselves? Human buttermilk. A tall glass of human buttermilk a day will cause the average human being to live up to 450 years. That's nearly 360 years longer than the average human does now. That's a gain of plus 360 years. That's as many degrees as there are in a circle. That's a lot. You made human breast milk cheese before? Camembert cheese was the bacteria you purchased? Well, men like gods, have hipsters gone too far? I tell you where they've gone too far. Let me explain where hipsters have gone too far. Hipsters have gone too far with this thing of making ever larger holes in their ear. What's the deal with the holes in the ear? Are they holes? Are they ears? I've tasted human breast milk before from my first wife when she was lactating. It was kind of gross, frankly. It's kind of gamey. You know, I wouldn't want to drink it on a regular basis. I don't even like to drink cow's milk on a regular basis. I do like it on cereal, though. Have I watched Danganronpa? No, I haven't. I haven't seen Danganronpa. I only tasted it once because it wasn't. I didn't like it, so I didn't pursue having any more of it. Those ear holes smell terrible. Sometimes those holes don't go back to normal size. I don't think they really ever go back to normal size, do they? Talk about like contemporary trends that guarantee a generation of regretful middle-aged people. Number one option on the board: unusually large holes in your ear. It's a bad show, steer clear. Backy's a terrible show. Steer clear of Backy. There are plenty of like just basically dumb, terrible animes. There's some on Crunchyroll that are made in English as their first language, right? So it's not like they're dubbed. They are natively in English. They're all fucking unwatchable. Completely unwatchable. I cannot watch anime that's not in Japanese. And the thing is, the only exception to that was Avatar. Avatar: The Last Airbender, the cartoon, not the movie. You want to talk about a terrible movie? Oh, that was a stink pot of a stink pot. Remember that, Rachel? What would I recommend? I will tell you right now. I would recommend my number one recommendation is still probably Fire Force, because I think it's one that people are likely to have not watched. That's incredibly outstandingly good, and seems to get a little less hype than some of the other ones, maybe, and deserves more hype. And it looks like they might not make a third season. And it's going to really make me sad if they don't, because I need a third season of that. I'd also strongly recommend World Trigger. World Trigger is great. Gate is fantastic. It's sort of an anime that's Japan's fantasy of becoming a conquering army again, but this time, being super cool about it. Everyone either starts with Death Note or DBZ. I didn't start with either of those. I never liked Dragon Ball Z. I don't think it seems to have any story at all. It's just like stupid, like, now he's even stronger than last episode. Now he's even stronger. Okay. What's going on in this stupid ass show? Dr. Stone's great. Shield Hero is great. Shield Hero is not great. Shield Hero is good. Dr. Stone is very good. I wouldn't call Dr. Stone great either. But is that the only place you can watch that? Bakano isn't on Crunchyroll. Is it on Netflix? Might be on Netflix. That's where I'm watching. Your first anime was Akira. I've never seen it. I'd recommend Fire Force. I'd recommend World Trigger. Gate. I'd recommend I'm trying to think of ones that you might be less commonly known. I mean, obviously, My Hero Academia is good. I watched all of that. I watched all of Hunter x Hunter. I watched all of Black Clover. Black Clover gets a lot better as it gets into it. I almost quit Black Clover within the first 20 episodes, but then I got quite into it, and I actually like Black Clover a lot now. But it took Black Clover a while to find its rhythm as a show. Like, some shows are very complete concepts before they're made. Like, Do Rah 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 is a very complete concept before it's made. Other shows are like zero concept before they're made, like Backy. But shows like Black Clover, they have a good, well-defined world concept, and it takes some interesting. I don't have a DVD player, I don't think. I'd also like let me look at my list here. Shit. Is Aezra Orihara ENTP or INTJ? I'm not sure who that is. Is it the information broker in Durarara? Is that who you're talking about? And the blonde guy is his enemy? The blonde bartender guy is his enemy? Okay, so you're talking about the black-haired guy, right? Izuya, the black-haired information broker. He is not an ENTP. I would say he's an INTJ. The ENTP character in that show doesn't seem very particular. Doesn't really have a lot to do. It's the founder of the Dollar's friend that he reunites with, the blonde kid. I think he's an ENTP, but he doesn't really do anything in the show except just be the Dollar's founder's friend. Yeah, I don't think that the black hair guy is an ENTP. I think that the only ENTP in that show that I've identified is the relatively small world blonde kid that's friends with the main kid, you know. I think Dr. Stone is an INTP's fantasy of an INTP. Having INTJ-like abilities, but INTP-like. Well, I mean, he's more, I guess Dr. Stone is really, most seems like an ISTP, except with way more creativity, I guess, or something. I don't know. Maybe he could be an ISTP, actually. Maybe I'm underestimating him. Dr. Stone, I'm going to type Dr. Stone's ISTP. That's the only thing that makes sense in terms of both the TE and the TI, because ISTPs have more realized TE than INTPs do. No, I don't like to read anime. I mean, I don't like to read mangas or web comics or things like that. I tried reading the Naruto manga way back when I was still like waiting for Shippuden episodes week to week. I got sick of waiting, so I tried to read the manga and I didn't like it. A comic strip made for the internet? I mean, is that just the same thing as a comic strip made for like a newspaper, except it's on the internet? I mean, like, there's that one that I've seen before. Got like this guy who's like black and white guy, and he walks around and looks at stuff or something. I don't remember. I'm not that visual, Octavia Silva. Like, All right, let me see what it looks like. Homestuck.com/story. Let me see what it looks like. Oh, it's like you enter a name. I don't want to do that. That sounds too interactive for me. Hey, stop trying to interact with me. I think most characters are written with MBTI in mind? No, I think almost no characters are written with MBTI in mind. But I think most character writers instinctively understand that some combinations of traits within a character just sort of don't make any intuitive sense. Like, writers love to make their characters OP. For example, like they'll make Tony Stark have great TI and great TE, or Dr. Stone have great TI and great TE. But what they generally won't do is make somebody have two things that are basically mutually exclusive. Like Naruto's a super stubborn ESFP, believe it kind of guy, but he's not also Shikamaru, right? So it's unlikely they're going to try to make a character both have like ESFP virtues and INTP virtues. But they are likely to try to get a character to have INTP virtues and ENTJ virtues, which is bullshit, you know? But it's like, because writers don't understand, they don't write because they understand cognitive functions and therefore, or their writing is not informed by that metacognition. It just reflects the reality somewhat, either more accurately or less accurately by crafting believable or less believable characters. And the reason they're believable or less believable is because they either resonate with us intuitively as a combo of things that goes together or not, you know? You know, like one thing that I don't like when I see it in what's my favorite animal? I'm gonna say capybara today. Today I'm saying capybara. Well, I mean, the thing you're really asking there, in like gods, is what works of writing, you know, novels probably have characters in them that consistently validate as their examples of their archetype. The weird thing is, of course, to the extent a character is completely consistent with sort of the typical manifestation of their function stack, then they're unlike any individual instance of that function stack, because nobody's the perfect average of the type descriptions, right? So a well-written INTP won't be an entirely stereotypical INTP, but it will be an INTP that is non-stereotypical by working around their implicit nature in some fashion, rather than by simply having both great TI active and great TE active at the same time. He's both winning the argument in court while concurrently inventing them. Yeah, that's fucking like Rick from Rick and Morty, right? He's got all the ENTP skills and all the ENTJ skills. Well, that's just bullshit. Nobody's like that. So, but it's easier to combine the T's because people don't meaningfully distinguish between two different kinds of rationality, like they should. They just think that they should distinguish between rationality and irrationality rather than reason, empirics, attachment, and popularity, basically, which are the four real kinds of divisions of that, right? It's like, well, it would be, and I think Shikamaru is a well-written INTP. So Shikamaru in Naruto is a character who is promoted into the elite and needs to prove he's part of the elite, but doesn't have particularly strong ninja powers. So it's like he's got this shadow possession jutsu that'll hold people in place, and he tries to, he refines that and hones that as best he can, but he fundamentally doesn't have the raw SE oomph that, say, Naruto does, right? And yet it's Shikamaru who's able to kill the unkillable zombie guy in a very INTP appropriate way. He understands that the guy who he never dies, and it's like once he has a drop of your blood and he's in this circle, then if he stabs himself, you take the damage. So Shikamaru figures out a way to sneak in, like to take advantage of this thing by deceiving the guy away from his. So the guy who does that with the circle and the knife, he's got a partner. Shikamaru drags him over there and makes this guy think that he's got some Shikamaru's blood, but he really has Shikamaru's put the guy's partner's blood on his thing. And so he keeps stabbing, and Shikamaru's faking being killed when really he's killing his partner over there. And then Shikamaru has the shit all set up ahead of time because he's ideated about it a bunch, decided the best course of action, set it up, and hope, fingers crossed, it plays out. And it does. And so he basically uses his cleverness to compensate for his physical mediocrity. The corollary there would be basically INTPs use their cleverness to avoid the worst consequences of being SE polar. You know what? You know what time it is, right? That's a great idea, Octavia. So I would say the answer to that would be very much yes. It's right, Octavia. So you've correctly diagnosed the situation. I've got a poop in my butt. Feels to be about the size of a classroom globe. Pretty big butt. Pretty big wet hole. Pretty big poop. Vex, I've arrived at the right time. Hey, Eric, I missed your streams the past week. Hope you're doing well. I am doing well, but we can't just continue ignoring the elephant in the room, aka the poop in my butt. So I'm going to have to go hunt it and use its ivory to make a piano in a little bit. That's what one does when there's an elephant in the room. That's what I do whenever I see an elephant. I go, ooh, piano. Okay. I'm going to put on some gentle island sounds for you to listen to while I poo. Here's going to be the sounds of the tropics. Aloha, hoi, hadura, hoi. I've got to hula all the time. I've got to hula all the time. Never has a truer sentence been spoken. People everywhere gather up in a means outrage. That's how they wish to sign. How do it? It's a different overseas. He's falling, backstabbing in the keys. Into it, out of thinking misery. follow necessarily from their savage ways. Insulting Carson and Desiree, we're stuck with very larceny. We all petition directories and call it destruction of the whole damn world. Julie shares our limits. Hoping Julie will do. Hoping Julie will do. Cherish it for 4 minutes. You just can't do things like they do. Julie always thought that she should have got to when she had the chance to buy. Julie soon forgot about soon and on, although she have a call. People everywhere gather up enemies, outraged at how they miss a sign. How do they set their priorities? These foreign backstabbing entities, ensuing heartache and misery, follow necessarily from their savage ways. Insulting Carson and Desiree, we're stuck with such granny like to me. We all petition directories and call it destruction of the whole damn world. $30,000 days, too many expectations, not even worth a damn. 30,000 nights to sleep off the intoxication, otherwise you won't escape the plan. I wasted half my days trying on another's way, but who can tell me my priorities? Is there anybody knows the key? 'Cause I'm tired of doing it wrong. Want direction and have all along. Wait until I know. Or is that just hesitation? Clarity's no good once your chance is gone. What I need to show is it so below my station. I'm tired of doing it wrong. I wasted half my days trying on others' ways. Who can tell me my priorities? Is there anybody knows the key? 'Cause I think I'm doing this wrong. 'Cause I think I'm doing this wrong. Doing this wrong. Oh, he came here with her. And what's the big problem that you can't endure? You seem so sure it's not appropriate claiming to blame things on Scott. Despite getting caught, he's got you reframing for him, straining for him. Going to the gym, make yourself good enough again. Yeah, you guys both have lots invested. That's not a reason to stay around. Through the years, you've both been tested. Time to move up. Find so sure it's not appropriate claiming to blame things on Scott. Despite getting caught, he's got you refraining for him, straining for him, going to the gym, make yourself good enough again. Be done with him. If Jesus was people but absent of sin, he must then have struggled with regular men and women, of course, when they too were present. Disciples all warily eyeing the lesson. Easy believing forever is lost. Maybe naive is not to be saved, but the wise pay a terrible cost. If people were Jesus, they'd know what they think, and everyone's work would be true. And feelings once spoken would sit where they sing, and we'd all know just what to do. People like Jesus, once they're betrayed. Easy believing forever is lost. Maybe naive is not to be saved, but the wise pay a terrible cost. No one you thought you knew, acts like you never have met. The life you made for two, has faded into regret. No one unshaken, we all have been shook. But being forsaken don't mean you're forsook. Though in the past you've been hung out to dry, we'll find them at last. We just have to try. People like Jesus, once they're betrayed. Easy believing forever is lost. Maybe naive is not to be saved, but the wise pay a terrible cost. Maybe naive is not to be saved, but the wise pay a terrible cost. Tomorrow is symbolic of never. As in that commercial that you used to have on TV. When will you embrace your future career opportunities? And the lady would sit there at the table thinking, tomorrow, 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 tomorrow. You guys remember that commercial? Maybe a little before your time. What was that place called? The Barbizon School of Beauty? I think it might have been called the Barbizon School of Beauty. There was a Barbizon School of Beauty. I'm not sure that commercial was for the Barbizon School of Beauty. It might have been for like maybe like ITT Tech or something. ITT Technical Institute. Which was always advertising how once you go to ITT Tech, you get a job in a big firm doing important shit and a button-down shirt and slacks. Hey, look at that, Mom. I get to wear a button-down shirt and slacks to work. I really arrived. That's how you know you've arrived. What's in bulk? Tomorrow is in bulk. What's IMBOLC? If you don't take action today, tomorrow may never come. That's why you need goals and plans. Rule number 1, have a shit ton of goals. Rule number 2, constantly be working on attaining your goals. Rule number 3, it only counts if it's a goal. There's rules for life. Clean your room, too. Slay dragons. Defend yourself against the revenge from the dragon's kin. Man up. Get addicted to benzos. Put yourself in a coma. These are the kind of good life lessons we can learn from Jordan Peterson. Happy in bulk. How does a kid make me use TE? They lock you in a box with a puzzle lock on it. How about that? Would that make you use TE? It could be an adult who does that as well, though. It doesn't have to be a kid. Anybody could do that and they would make you use TE. Eric, help me NE. What are some possible situations you put an ENTP in that would press on their body functions? Oh, well, ENTPs hate to be told I thought we understood you were going to get this meow, but you seem to be like a follow through on your part, Eric. That's like, you're killing me. You're killing me with stabs. In this particular instance, it was 2 pieces. It was a 2-piece poop. And neither of them were particularly large. I was a little bit hyperbolic. My imagination was bigger than my poop, I guess you could say. It wasn't that big of a poop. It was 2-piecer. Yeah. And another way you can press on an ENTP's lower functions is put them in a situation that doesn't allow them to get enough food. It requires them to be active without having attended to their SI first. They get extremely hangry, ENTPs are hanger poster children. Or they just get really super quiet and moody, Because and they think the world's going. Oh, Jesus! It's like this morning I was perfectly in a good mood, but now I see the whole world's shitty. God, what a fool I was. Give me a sandwich. Oh, never mind. I just needed a sandwich. My bad. That's very much a phenomenon that occurs to ENTPs. They will, catch an ENTP at the right moment. They can spend a good amount of energy convincing you that just lie down and die. Fire's raining from the heavens on us right now. And it sounds like this is permanent. This is big. And you give them a sandwich and they're like, oh, never mind. I feel fine now. And now I've returned to my normal irrational optimism. Instead of being irrationally pessimistic, now I'm back to being irrationally optimistic. Isn't that great? Isn't that fun? It's a surprise for you, isn't it? That sounded so serious a second ago. How do you use a priori properly in a sentence? Well, you could say the prosecution failed to meet its a priori burdens, which means they've failed to establish means, motive, opportunity. So in other words, if the guy's got an unbreakable alibi, then there's no point in going forward with the case because the prosecution fails to meet its a priori burdens, which is to say, if it's not at least possible for the person who committed the crime, then you can't go forward with showing that it's probable that he did, right? That goddamn mug. It's a little on the dirty side right now. I've asked it to clean itself. I'm waiting to see if it's going to obey me. Yeah, it was a two-piecer, which was any two-piecer, you're going to have your main chunk, your main act of poo, and then the straggler piece, right? It should have been attached to the main act, but went back because it forgot its keys or something. Not in America, it's not utter self. It's not a priority in debate or in the courtrooms or whatever. What's Prill? And where can I get some? Manifest a fifth sprite? I don't even know what the first four sprites are. Are they the stages between 7-Up and Contemporary Sprite? Oh, Prill is filth? No, Prill fixes filth, apparently. I was thinking earlier when I was peeing, not just now, but before, earlier, like a couple hours ago, I was thinking it would be funny if, like, you were to, like, get with a chick and you're, like, having sex and she's, like, talking dirty and she gets, like, treat me like a whore. And you go, you mean definitely not fuck you and maybe buy you soup? These are the kind of jokes I think about on the toilet. I don't know. Yeah, probably Men Like Gods. Writing female characters. I mean, you know, it's easier to write female ISFJs or ESFJs than it is to write male ISFJs and ESFJs. So if you want to find a kind of chick that's easier to write, you just kind of got to hone in on what kind of chicks do you know about in the world, right? There's different kind of chicks. Like there's ISFJ kind of chicks, like my mom was like, I'm just going to putter around the house and I'll make some dinner and we'll settle in. It'll be so cozy. We'll watch a baseball game. There's like that chick, right? Then there's ESFJ chick who's much more like, now remember when we get to the party, I want you to go and please, Eric, greet everybody in succession. Don't forget to talk to Paul. I know you don't like Pauls, but don't forget. Or you could have like, you know, like ENFP English teacher lady, like, or English ENFP elementary school teacher. It is so great to see all your smiling faces back after this long summer. And I just want you to know I'm Miss Margentine, and this year together we're gonna do a lot of learning. We're gonna become lifelong learners. That's right. What do we do here in this classroom? That's right. What do we do? We learn. Okay? We learn. Bobby, we don't make googly eyes at our friends. No, we learn. We're lifelong learners. Don't you just want to reach through the computer and slap her in the face, Octavia Silva? Or you could be like a snotty ass secretary bitch, like, hi, can I help you? Well, he's not in this afternoon. If you look at the schedule there, you'd see that he doesn't come in on Tuesday afternoons, but we do appreciate you stopping by. Well, can I leave a message? All right. I can give it to him tomorrow because he's not coming back this afternoon, as the schedule indicates. Okay, well, fine. Give it to him tomorrow. All right, let me give it to him. Go ahead. What's your name? Eric Stroud. How do you spell it, please? Okay, cunt. You have secretary cuntiness disorder. I've met you before. You're a bitch. I don't know what type that is. That's just secretary cuntiness disorder. There was a lady like that in my high school. It's like, why are you constantly such a bitch? And very like, I'd be all smart about you having to jump through more hoops. Ew, I don't like you because you're not TE enough. So I'm going to feel all shitty and smart when you make you squirm. I don't like that at all. I don't like that. That makes me go, ooh, like that. You know, they were parents when you were growing up that actually prescribed speed by their doctor because they couldn't handle their children. I mean, not when I was growing up. When I was growing up, the only people who got put on Adderall actually had ADHD, which is to say they had attention deficit hyperactivity disorder comorbid with some kind of mental deficit. So that's like a real problem, right? If you're not retarded, you don't have real ADHD or autism. Real ADHD and real autism go with retardation. What you have instead is a cognitive function stack. So if you're INTJ and you're super NITE and FE polar, you're like, oh, you're definitely on the autism spectrum. Why? Because you share some kind of affect with people who have actual autism. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's like saying that I'm on the ADHD spectrum because I find your boring ass bullshit boring. You know, it's ridiculous. Of course I am not interested in the schooling activity. You are an idiot, and you're the person who's telling me what to do. Why would I want to be here in the school, have the school experience? Having idiots tell me what to do. That doesn't sound fun. Who thinks that sounds fun? I know I'm going to go get locked into a place where complete morons are in charge, telling me what to do all day. Breathe. That's going to work out well. This is going to be a blast. It's like, that's the thing. Who's in charge of schools? Morons. By and large, definitely executives or analysts. So they're going to be not fundamentally challenging the frame. I'm not saying, why are we still trying to work out how to stab these children in a less damaging way? Why don't we throw this clusterfuck of a bad idea on the bonfire? mean, I've had high functioning autistic students before. High functioning does not mean not retarded. So in some sense, they may have savant-like qualities that make them do stuff that seems magical. Like I had a very high functioning autistic student who could tell you everything you could ever ask about every bus schedule from the eastern half of Los Angeles County to Chinatown and back. If I had to go from Roland Heights to Chinatown on Tuesday after 12, before 4 p.m., which line should I take? The 134 line at 122 stops at Mass Street at Maryland. Really impressive, right? But he's also retarded. Meaning, and what does it mean to be mentally retarded? It has an actual definition. It's operationalized that you can use to check. Is the individual capable of metacognition? If not, they suffer from global mental retardation. If so, they don't. It's just that simple. All normal humans are capable of some metacognition. That is to say, analysis about their own mental processes as they're ongoing. If you can't do that at all, you are mentally retarded. Right. So, moving all the time is a symptom of Parkinson's disease, ghostwriter. By the logic you present here, I could say you have autism. I could say you have ADHD. I could say you have Parkinson's disease. And they'd all be equally well justified by those symptoms. You got DX'd. What does that mean? I don't know what DX means. Psychology is bunk science. Well, psychology is not a monolith. There are various subfields, including such things as research into drugs that change brain chemistry, for example. There's no doubt that that's not bunk science. That even if they can't explain why a given drug works, is no disputing that without the drug combination Rachel takes, that she rather quickly devolves into psychosis. I got a little sloppy about making sure we refilled it on the right, in time. I kind of was like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And she had to skip a day. You could see it just like, I was like, oh shit, Eric, you better be more careful about this. So there's no doubt that it works. There's no therapy. There's no talk therapy of any sort, right? Nothing wrong with Rachel that she needs to work through. She needs the right combination of chemicals to change her from broken to fixed. It's that straightforward. There's nothing bunk about that. Yeah, man, like God's. If you've been around this channel for a full year, which you probably haven't, but if you've been around the channel for a full year or a year and 4 months or something, and regularly watched, then you've gotten to witness yourself what it's like when somebody has a mental illness that's improperly treated with drugs versus when somebody has a mental illness and it's properly treated with drugs. Is night and day, light switch. Note that how they test the drugs is not a relevant factor regarding whether or not the drugs comprise bunk science. So that's not irrelevant. It's not a relevant consideration. It's not bunk science. We can determine that both empirically, that it actually works, and we can determine it sort of. We can present the chemistry of it. In other words, the molecules look like this. We may not have a good explanation as to why that molecule has that effect. So, for example, I don't think the psychiatrist, and I mean, Rachel's psychiatrist, in our first meeting, he underwent a full-fledged Eric check. I mean, I had him backpedaling and scrambling all over the fucking place. Until at the end, he just sort of slumped and was like, I know, I am really frustrated by these aspects of psychology and psychiatry as well. Well, now, every time I talk to the guy, I'm just like, all praise is due, my hero. You are proof that psychiatry is an important profession and that one competent professional can make a massive difference in a person's life where multiple incompetent professionals failed prior. It's a powerful example of a lot of things. You should go to your psychiatrist appointments with me. Well, the other thing is choose the right psychiatrist. I got it. I didn't know when I shopped for him, but maybe just my gut or whatever. I ended up picking an ENTP psychiatrist. So he and I see eye to eye, no problem. We're great, you know. Even after I raked him over the coals in that first session, I didn't cross any lines. Everything I was saying made perfectly good sense, and so he didn't get offended by it. He basically lost the debate, and then he solved my problem. So you know, you can shove your winning the debate up your ass, Eric, which is great. Well, because the problem I had going in was this. My understanding of the situation was pretty unevolved at the time, but it seemed very clear that the most salient problem was that Rachel wasn't sleeping. She couldn't sleep. And so I just couldn't understand why no psychiatrist before, even though she'd been telling them this for years, had ever prescribed her simply a sleeping pill to go to sleep from, you know? I'm not an expert on different classes of drugs or anything. So I was very frustrated going in because it seemed like she'd been dicked around by idiots for years. Or not just idiots, but kind of malevolent idiots too. So I wanted to sort of say, why don't you just prescribe her a sleeping pill like I'm saying? All these other people here have done meow. I'm not happy with this. And I'm coming to you today expecting you're going to prescribe her with this and this. Now, I didn't end up getting that because he won that argument with me. In other words, he convinced me that Klonopin would be a better sleeping pill than Ambien or something, even though Klonopin isn't technically a sleeping pill. My objection was, why not give her actually a sleeping pill, right? Well, it turned out he was right. And he explained to me that even though it's not technically a sleeping pill, it actually makes you sleep with probably better with fewer consequences. The only negative consequence being, of course, you get addicted to benzos. But if, you know, this is one of those things where I either have Rachel, who's addicted to benzos, which doesn't matter at all because she's never going to need to kick them. Or I have nobody because Rachel's too crazy to sustain in a relationship, you know? So it's the difference between this life that I have now and an entirely different life. Just this one psychiatrist who actually cared to solve the problem rather than treat Rachel as a commodity of their psychological mill, you know? I'm not disputing those kind of psychological mills exist. That's why you hire your own private psychiatrist. You don't go through insurance and you just bite the bullet and spend $1,000. And you get exactly what you want. You know, it's like the psychiatrist had to win back from me the basic thesis that I was going to tell him what he was going to prescribe. And when he said, well, but I'm the expert. I mean, don't you want my expertise? If you were the expert, you'd be able to answer my goddamn questions. You haven't been able to answer any of them. Every point I've made, it remains standing, and you've left them unanswered, if not conceded directly. What good's your expertise if you don't know anything? And now this guy's my hero, right? By our initial meeting, first I had to get out my frustrations on him, and smash him into the ground. And then, now, last time we met, I seriously do. Every time I see him, I'm like, you are my hero. You're the best. I sing your praises constantly, Dr. Ingram. And the last time we talked to him, which was just the other day, he said, thanks. I really needed to hear that today, which was nice to hear for me. It was like, oh, okay. I feel like I still have to make up for my initial aggressiveness by lots of, okay, I can see you win, but I guess he's used to dealing with difficult people. I'm not genuinely difficult. My complaints were legitimate. He wasn't answering the questions that I legitimately had. He was giving me some answers that he was trying to slip some shit past me, like telling me, well, this has been established via a testing. And me going, but that would only be relevant in this kind of situation if the methodology were this, and I guarantee you it wasn't, was it? I'd be like, no. What a nightmare, huh? Can you imagine being a professional of anything and dealing with self-righteous Eric for an hour? Boba Fett, that's a terrible notion. The idea of altering or managing brain chemistry is bad. No, it's not at all. It's bad to think that we ought not apply our science and knowledge to take more control over our own experience. And that's exactly what those kind of drugs allow you to do. So you might argue, Boba Fett, that it's not good for me to take Adderall because, after all, it's 11 p.m. and I'm still awake and I really should be in bed by now. Hi, Katie. Thanks for not pretending to be somebody different. I appreciate that. I'm not even going to – there's a story that I want to tell, and I'm not going to tell it because I'm going to stick with my plan. I'm just not going to talk about this subject at all anymore publicly. The subject we were talking about a couple streams ago. Let's just say, yeah. I appreciate that. Men like gods. You used to be gods like men, right? Well, okay, here's a hint, Octavia Silva. Fool me once, shame on you. Attempt to fool me twice. Ooh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that your dignity? Ooh, it sure does look like it has a lot of poop on it now. Boba Fett, I think what you need to do is alter or manage your scrotal sheen with host Eric's patented scrotum wax. Well, they're not always stupid and incompetent, Octavia Silva. Call Dr. Ingram. You know, tell him I referred you. I sing his praises, and you have high expectations as a consequence. That's what you should do, Octavia Silva. This stream is preventing me from baking as well. I'm going to end the stream as a consequence, but I'm still not going to bake. Good night, everybody.